Hello. Welcome to episode 6 of JagaVision. We were just working through some technical difficulties as we were starting out here, so we're starting at 1:12, so our guests will be joining us pretty fast. Normally I like to drink a tea before they join us and kind of cup something unusual, but I think we're going to have to perhaps put a pause on that this time. We'll be working with the Koucha Asatsuyu this time, so I'll put it on display here for you to see. This lovely selection from the Takaki farm. It's a crimson tea. We're going to be drinking it with our friends at White Rabbit Coffee in Nanaimo. You can check them out at whiterabbitcoffeeco.com and stop by if you're in Nanaimo. Like Ratio, they've taken over an antique sort of old railway railway station, sorry. And in the railway station, they've opened up a really awesome and beautiful specialty cafe. So highly encourage you to go check them out if you're ever in the city. Sister Speak will be joining us as well. Sherri Anne, the lead singer, writer, it is basically her recording alias. And she has been bringing our teas with her around the world. We've been her tea sponsor for a good 6 years now, so pretty fun times. And so she'll be joining us, and we'll be drinking this Koucha Asatsuyu together. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about it when the guests are on the air with us, so that we can share in it. But essentially, crimson teas, just for those of you who are curious, are called black teas in North America. And this is a really special selection because we actually participated in the harvest. So that's well, not the harvest, sorry, in the bruising of the leaves, the rolling of the leaves. So that was pretty fun times. We're also going to be talking a little bit with Amy Ferris about what her business has done when it comes to the challenges that she's faced with dealing with COVID-19. For our part, it's interesting. Next door, our neighbors, Uchida Shokudo, beautiful. Probably the best Japanese food I've had in North America, if not the best, top 5 in my life. And we go to Japan quite a bit. And Yasu, the owner, he's just a genius. And so he's opened up next door for takeout only during COVID-19. He was closed for quite some time, since mid-March. So it's a big deal. The courtyard that we're in, we actually have people walking through now, other than just the postman. So, yeah, it's interesting times. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, excited to have him back. And we're seeing a lot more businesses open. Actually, one of our clients in Vancouver, Small Victory, opened up. Locally, I'm not quite sure if it's just the James Bay location, but one of Discovery Coffee, who serves our chai in London Fogs, they've reopened. Our good friends at Township Coffee been open now for quite some time, actually through the whole crisis. So it's been interesting times, actually quite amazing. It looks like Amy has joined us. Amy, are you there?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Awesome, cool. Welcome to the show. Welcome to JagaVision.
That's awesome. I love this.
So we're Amy's joining us today from her home. She's going to be again making the Koucha Asatsuyu with us. But Amy, maybe you could introduce yourselves to our viewers and just tell us a little bit about what White Rabbit's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we own a coffee shop in Nanaimo, BC, called White Rabbit Coffee, and our primary goal is to serve excellent coffee and tea, but also to make sure that we're connecting and engaging with our community. So our space is really built as a community space as much as it is a coffee shop. And we really pride ourselves on the community that we've built over the last little while, and we're just happy to be here.
Yeah, and you guys are not quite new kids on the block, but you're in your second year, or you're in your third year?
Yeah,
how fast is time flying? I don't know. I actually don't even know how old I am anymore. So.
Too fast, yeah. I have to say. No, we're just in our second year. Our 1 year anniversary was January 15th, so we're still, quite new, but not old at the same time.
Yeah.
So
You must feel like it's been a million years, though. Hey, it's
Yeah, it's
yeah,
funny how you lose track of time like that. I
yeah,
was watching your live stream with John, and you said 16 years you've had Jaga Silk.
yeah, Josh. But yeah, we've
Josh,
been this is 16 years. So I mean, it depends on how you want to talk about it. But yeah, we actually opened in 2005 out of our house. So
wow.
we were a wholesaler, and then we opened up the tea bar in 2009. And for the first 5 years, all we did was matcha. Hey, like we didn't have any loose teas, no tea lattes. It was just like this extreme focus, and a big part of that is just like feeling like we entered this game as just not knowing anything. We didn't know anything. And I mean, I still am horrified at how little I know, but like, we gather information over the years and you feel like a little bit better over time. And as we feel a little bit more comfortable, we've been releasing different genres of teas, etc. But yeah, 16 years.
That's wow.
It's
I
seen a lot of changes too. A lot of association with the coffee industry. So yeah, sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. Building those connections probably took time over those years, obviously. But
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that matcha is your flagship product because it is still the best matcha I have found in Canada. And I
Cool.
have people coming from all over, from Vancouver, coming to our shop to buy packages of it because it's just so sought after.
Nice, nice. That's very cool. Was it you that had the NDP leader who was coming by and having our tea at your shop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he mentioned on his Instagram live, Jagmeet Singh. Yeah, he would come by. He really loved the oolong. He said he couldn't find oolong brewed to that perfection
Oh, nice.
anywhere.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you guys are also very careful. You follow protocol on the like in terms of weighing leaves and keeping the temperature at a particular place and setting your timers and doing all of the above, right? So it's
absolutely. Yeah,
you
I
get some.
we don't need bad tea over here. I mean, everybody's tea experience should be just as good as their coffee experiences going into a coffee shop. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, and you're a big tea enthusiast yourself, right? Like my understanding is that oh, uh-oh. Can you speak again? I might have
Lost me? Am I
yeah.
here?
Oh, there you are. Okay, awesome. No, I just had a call from Mew. She often watches these live streams and she lets me know when there's something going on. So
Fair.
they can hear me. And can you speak again?
Yeah. Hi, Mew. Can you hear me?
I think we're good. I think we.
Wonderful.
I'm hoping anyway. I'll wait to see if she sends me a text so that I can see what's going on if she's trying to.
Sounds good.
But anyway, so we have the Koucha Asatsuyu that we're going to be drinking today.
Yeah.
And you want to grab that?
Well, so I have a question before I do this
Yes, yes, yes.
because this has been in this tin since pre-COVID. I have a
Yeah.
fresh bag here, which I'm going to brew today.
Okay.
It has a minty quality to it.
Okay. Okay.
And I wonder if that's just because it was sitting next to my mint tea
Okay.
or if it's just developing over time. It's
There
like
is,
an
I mean,
earthy minty.
there is a really almost menthol-like quality to this tea.
Okay, so I'm not totally crazy here.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
I am
pretty
gonna crack a
intense.
new bag.
I'm gonna make sure that we're supposed to have Sister Speak joining us too, and I'm just give me 1 second to make sure that she's
Sure.
joining us. Sorry. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
smell.
Yep.
Okay.
Smells great.
Okay. I've resent the invite to her, and hopefully she joins us pretty quick here. Okay, awesome. So let me see. You want to actually before we start brewing, just while we're waiting for Sister Speak to join us, if her equipment is working effectively, etc. Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys have been doing at White Rabbit to work with the challenges that COVID-19 has presented the company?
Absolutely, yeah. I guess us like so many, or like late March, we closed our doors entirely until we could kind of regroup and figure out how best to serve our customers.
Okay.
We immediately jumped on to an online web store. So we're still offering coffee as contactless deliveries. So bagged coffee, also bagged teas. So we're even offering the Crimson as well as matcha and our milled teas. And the batches of baked goods. So that was our first initial wave of, Kate, this is how we can still reach people, support them, get them what they need. Mm-hmm. And then the second wave was figuring out a take up, walk up window situation. Lots of people have been doing like plexiglass in front, or just ways to create that separation. So we did that.
That really creative solution there, hey?
We did. It's unfortunate for the people listening. We about 4 or 5 months ago, we got broken into, sadly, and where they broke in was at our back door, which conveniently has a hole in it still that we haven't been able to fix. So we've retrofitted a counter that just slides over that broken hole, and we're able to serve people safely through there. It's kind of the best case scenario for the worst possible situation.
They were thinking ahead, I guess. Hey,
obviously.
Yeah. No, that's really.
Yeah.
I hope that there wasn't too much damage to the space.
Luckily, no. We definitely learned a lot from that experience about how we can better protect ourselves. But we just had a couple iPads stolen, and those are easily replaceable. So
still rough times, but I'm glad that you have a working solution for COVID-19.
Yeah.
We've again, for our part, we've just moved to mostly online. So for our viewers who want to check out jagasilk.com, please do so. Of course, White Rabbit Coffee co.com, is that the website? White Rabbit Coffee co.com?
Yeah, with co.
Okay, with the co on the end. Yeah,
you got it.
Awesome. Yeah, if you want to go check her out there and check out their coffee products. Can you tell me a little bit about the coffee that you guys have? You carry, is it Fernwood? It's another Victoria company, or is it?
Yeah. We tried to stay as local as possible, and I love Fernwood coffee. Ben, the owner, actually is originally from Winnipeg, which is where I'm from, and nice. It was kind of a no-brainer between yourself, JagaSilk, and Fernwood. Nice. They were our first choices, and I'm so glad that we were able to build this relationship.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and you've been really awesome for a really good social media presence. I've been watching what you guys do. It's very creative. I love to pay attention to your Instagram, so I encourage everybody who's watching to go check out the White Rabbit Instagram. You guys have some really interesting drinks you put out, and just some really, really good photography too. Who takes the pictures?
I do the majority of the photography, and we actually just brought somebody on our team who's actually going to take over some of the styling. She has a little bit more of a keen eye for that sort of thing, and I'm really excited to work with her. It means more awesome content coming your way.
Awesome. Yeah. No, we're it's interesting times. There's been some I think some companies have gone to doing almost everything themselves again, and then some are taking this opportunity to grow different parts of the company than perhaps that they were able to focus on in the past.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's a big learning curve for me during COVID, was that when doing all of the things and things get overwhelming, it's nice to have people in your corner who are there and ready to help out.
100%. I think that we really need to make sure that we're kind of looking out for the teams that are working for us, right? But we also want to make sure that the company survives. So it's kind of that balance, right? And so that's cool. You brought on a new person though. Like, is it just an old person that you passed on, or like a former like a current staff member you passed on a responsibility to, or is this a brand new person to the company?
Brand new person to the company. Been on our radar, have done collaborations with for multiple times now, and we work really well together. And so it's with digital work, it's really easy to kind of do that distantly, and you don't really have to get together. It's kind of, here's the information and you can go ahead, which has been nice. It helps us continue to move forward and ensure that the dream survives.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, for our part, we have a lot of staff working from home or working on limited hours. Our manager's here every day, and then I'm here, and then Mia's doing a lot of work from home. We're trying to keep the amount of bodies in the space at a minimum, at the same time trying to function the business. So it's been an interesting times.
It has.
So I can't seem to get Sister Speak on the chat, so I think we're just going to go move forward with starting on the tea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully she can join us for when we get to Arnie Palmer stage. That'll be a fun part.
Yeah. Hold on.
We're brewing at 100, right?
We're brewing at 100. That's right. So apparently there's an issue with the volume of my voice. So just gonna drop the mix down a little bit on you guys and see if that helps with me. Okay.
Oh, technology.
Yeah, I know, hey? Okay, yeah, you want to bring this up to 100?
Okay. And then I have to say, I don't know if you found these yet. You gave me this idea, but I found these lids that have a really fine mesh strainer in them. And they're made specifically for the 8-ounce mason jars.
8-ounce mason jars, not the so we actually make those here. And
I would love to learn how you do that.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a product that we have. We call them mason jar brewers. Here, I'll go grab a. And so we put a silicone seal around the edge, and then we have a we have a really tough stainless steel ring instead of those cheap tin ones.
Yeah.
And then our brewer has the has like the what is it called, the measurements, the volume measurements. Can you see that?
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, we use weight. So I'm not really using those so much, but I think it's really nice that if I don't have as easy access to a scale, or if the scale that I'm using is one of those jeweler's scales, so I can only weigh out the tea, and I can't weigh out the water, then I'd rather use volume for water than use it for tea, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I've run into many situations where maybe my scale hasn't read properly right away, or it didn't kick on, or it didn't tear out. So having the measurements on the side as a backup is really handy in fast service, I think.
It makes sense. Yeah. Just in case, right? And I also like to think of scales as a tool rather than as a crutch, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, for our viewers, what Amy and I are working with is a mason jar brewer. Mine has a little jacket on it so that I don't burn my fingers, because we're working with boiling water. But you can always use just a cloth. You can brew in a jar and pour through a sieve into another jar. Really what's important is that you have a brewing vessel that's made out of glass or ceramic. You want to stay away from plastic and metal. Metal makes things slightly acidic, whereas I find that that plastic is just kind of creepy. It also seems to build up some scratches over time, and you can start to get the flavors of the previous brew affecting the next one. So plastic is a no for a lot of reasons. Tea bags, let's stay away from them. They're going to restrict your tea from properly extracting, because it won't be able to spin with convection currents and do what they call the agony of the leaves. So
agony of the leaves. I'll use that one next time when someone asks why I don't use a tea bag.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm going to weigh out 3 grams. And then I'm going to put, we're only working with 180 mils.
Right.
I like to preheat my brewer. That's something that's always important to me. I don't really want to preheat my decanter, because I find that, especially when I'm brewing with 100 degrees centigrade, it's nice if I can bring down the drinking temperature a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Would you preheat with a green tea at 80?
I think it's more when I do, like, say, a sencha, like a 70 degree centigrade one. That's when I'm going to start perhaps preheating the decanter, if that makes sense.
It does. I'll make sure I have a timer set.
So this one I've been finding, as it ages, is tasting a little bit better at 4 minutes instead of 3.5.
Okay.
But that could also be the fact that I've been working with water that was a little bit circumspect, and now I'm kind of, what I mean by that is the first time I turn on my cold water taps in the day is going to make me my worst cup of tea. And the reason for that is there's going to be a little bit of buildup of just kind of like flatness in the liquid. It doesn't have as much oxygen flowing through it, and oxygen plays such a a huge role in extracting really interesting flavors. So if I have if you boil water for a really long time and then you just have this really flat water that you're working with, sort of delivers something similar. There's also like if you leave water in a metal thermos for a while, you find that it imparts the flavors.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So would you flush your pipes in the morning then?
That's what I do. So like I actually run the espresso machine, the hot water tower, the water, and I just kind of fill up sinks for washing with and use all that wastewater. And during COVID-19, I have kind of forgotten to do that. And so I was drinking teas in the morning and going like, something's going on here. And it was a good reminder of why we did that and why we started doing that. Because I remember when we started Jaga Silk, the tea bar here, and we're in an older building, and you're in an older building too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like our the pipes I think are not necessarily of the best quality. I do have a good filtration system, but it's just, I don't know, there's some impurities perhaps. I don't know what it is that's causing this. I have all these theories, but I don't have any actual evidence. And what I do know though is that if I just run the water for a good 1 to 2 minutes in the morning, all my tea after that is going to be awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so makes a big difference. Actually, when we did a coffee shop, I realized pretty early in that I could save so much time. Hold on one sec. My scales run out of batteries. I'm gonna have to flip that around. Okay, I'm just gonna fill this up. You want 180?
Yeah, I'm ready to brew.
Okay.
So okay if I go ahead?
Yeah, let's do it. Sorry, went out on a tangent there. But what I was trying to say is that dialing in espresso in the morning was so much easier after we'd run the essentially emptied the espresso machine of all the water that was in the tank in the morning.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that. I tend to do that as well now, and it's something that we started doing when we were experiencing issues with our espresso machine, and it's something that I've just kind of held on to now.
Yeah.
And 181, but I think that's okay. But it's a good practice to get in. Like we in coffee, we purge our group heads. Every time we pull a shot, we purge our steam wands. So why wouldn't we purge the tank a little bit just to make sure we're using the freshest possible water?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, purging the group heads is, I think, part of it is that. I think also that thermal stability for the extraction, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that just like running the water for quite a long time, like I would set a timer actually so that I know that I'm doing it. Kind of feels really wasteful, so I have to make sure that I'm utilizing that water somewhere, right? Like I feel weird about just like emptying water down the drain, so it's nice to use it as gray water for cleaning with.
Absolutely.
But it sure makes a big difference for flavor. So that's interesting. You guys started doing that as well. So this particular Koucha is from the Takaki farm. We've featured their teas on the live stream in the past, and we found that that they've been probably some of the most exciting farmers to work with for us. I mean, they're all exciting to work with, but these guys are so innovative and they're so interested and open-minded about bringing on new ideas. Like they're the ones who you have the Yabukita matcha by them, and that selection was one that they put together specifically for Jaga Silk, where they agreed to not put any sprays on it. It's grown uncertified organic, but like they did it as a trial run for us because we've been kind of nagging them for a couple of years to do it, and they produced some really good flavors. And we call him Takaki Papa, but he's this older. Sister Speaks joined us. Okay, amazing. Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
I was just explaining to Amy about the Koucha Asatsuyu, and we're making it right now. So if you want to join in, and welcome, by the way. So we're at 3 grams, 180 mils. We're doing. What's nice about this one is it's a boiling water, so you don't actually have to do any. You don't really even need the temperature variable kettle. You can just use a regular kettle and just get it to a nice boil. So, but make sure you preheat your brewer, whatever you're brewing with. So, Amy, this is Sherri Anne from Sister Speak. She was just
Pleasure.
Hello.
She precedes our show with her own show. She has a live performance that she does for her music project, Sister Speak. and that we actually join in at the end, and she is drinking tea the whole time while she's playing music.
I love that.
it's way too much fun. Way too much fun. So
yeah, it's kind of goofy.
So Sherri Anne, this is Amy Ferris. She's with she owns or is co-owner of White Rabbit Coffee, and they just celebrated a year. You said a year in January. So
In Kelowna.
Nanaimo. So
Nanaimo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's where our great grandma's from.
yes. Yeah.
It's an old coal mining town.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Okay, I'm done on my end. I'm just gonna extract this.
I'm done. I did the 4 because I'm curious to see what it's like.
Yeah, I did 4 as well. So it calls for 3.5 minutes, Cher, but 4 minutes is tasting better these days. I think once the tea has some time to rest, its flavors change. This was also a fall harvest, so it's not even close to a year old. And a lot of times, a good 6 months in from harvest, or 4 or 5 months in from harvest, the flavors change quite dramatically. Especially like in a sencha, they talk about that all the time in Japanese teas. They talk about how they'll purposefully let a sencha hang out for until like the fall, and it'll have a completely. It might often be even released as its own. Almost like a different tea, like the fall version, but it's all they've done is really let it rest. Traditionally, they might even have put it underground in special containers, etc. But there's some interesting.
And with this one, you say Koucha it's tea. You said it means black tea, right?
Or it literally translates to crimson tea.
Crimson tea.
So what we call black tea in North America is called crimson tea. In Japan, in China, and Taiwan, all of the ancient tea-producing regions refer to this genre as crimson tea because the genre of black tea already existed. So when the English brought it to England, they looked at the leaves and the brew, and they were like, "Oh, this is a really dark-looking tea. We're just going to call it black tea." That's what I understand from the literature. So they kind of renamed this genre.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is actually true black tea in North America, we have to call dark tea. Probably one of the more famous dark teas out there is pu'er.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
Oftentimes when you talk about pu'er, you talk about it as if it's in the same sort of resolution as green tea or oolong or what we call black tea, right? But it's not. It's a geographic denotation. So what I mean by that is like champagne and sparkling wine. Sparkling wine is the style. Champagne is a region that's famous for that style, but it can only be called champagne if it's from that region. Pu'er is the same way. It can only be called pu'er if it's from southern Yunnan, Nanuo mountain area. There's 13 official factories that are allowed to make it, that kind of thing. So the crimson tea's completely different. This is essentially to make what we call a black tea. You want the propyl oxidase enzyme to really do its magic for quite a long time, at least 80% moisture loss via the withering process. So you harvest, you bruise the leaves, you've kind of heated them up a little bit, but you haven't heated them up enough to do the process called kill green. And then you're letting those leaves sort of develop, and you're going to bring out, like if you smell, there's a really nice note of sugared malt, right?
I was going to say it's very malty.
Yeah. And there's just kind of like a really like a stewed fruit flavor.
Yeah. I almost taste like orange rinds, just the rinds.
Yeah. Because I think that's what we were talking about with the zest on the flavor profile for this.
Which I think what I have all coffee, tea, everything that really when I'm tasting, I'm hyper focused on texture a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things with the black tea I find is it's very silky and it just is smooth throughout. And that's something that I feel like I don't get with a North American black tea, where you're kind of getting that astringency on the end of the tongue. It's kind of giving you a little zing. but you don't get that with this. It's very smooth.
It's got this richness. Earlier in the Sister Speak live stream, Sherri Anne was talking about how sweet it tastes. Like there's like a sugaryness to
it's
it.
very
almost.
sweet.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
And I find that it's a completely different tea than what I just even had a week ago. I had Mew was down visiting the tea bar. She works from home these days. She's one of the owners. I could say she's visiting the tea bar. She was, but she was here and we were drinking Koucha Asatsuyu, and it was just really unremarkable. And then when we unremarkable, and I was kind of shocked. And that thus enters this question about, I was like, water, thinking about it from last live stream with Josh. Remember all that talk we had about, I mean, Amy watched the live stream, Sherri Anne, you were a part of it, but we were just discussing just how much of a role that water plays. And before you came on the show today, I was just talking to Amy about how important it is. I've learned through trial and error how important it is to run the water for quite a while to build up some oxygen and to get all of like sort of the impurities kind of working their way through the system before you actually fill your kettle and start brewing with it. And it makes a big difference on the quality of the extraction that you get. And what I'm drinking today is way nicer than what I was drinking even last week when I had forgotten to do that simple process. But the texture, the smell.
It's a very nice like when I think about an after dinner tea, or I think about like tea my grandmother would want to drink, or my stepmom would want to drink. They're black tea after dinner all the time, and I think that this is something that is so approachable for people to not have to put milk in or not have to put honey in, that you can just drink it straight and enjoy the properties as it is without having to really doctor it.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like rooibos. That's how I feel about rooibos.
Mm-hmm. It gives you just that nice chill evening experience. Yeah, but I think that a lot of times the encouragement with crimson teas is an over extraction.
Okay.
I think that I'm not a proponent of over extraction. I really like making the tea this way. I think that making a tea, you can adjust your brewing parameters to make it taste better for drinking it straight or having it with milk and sugar, right? And if you want it with milk and sugar and you want it to taste really like you want to taste the quality, I suggest up dosing or reducing the amount of water that you use. And then maybe brewing a little bit longer just to pull out a little bit more acid, because it's going to be interacting with the lactose sugars in the milk, and that's going to adjust how it tastes and how it tastes on your tongue. And if you're going to add sugar, then you need to make it even more acidic, because you're not only are you working with lactose at that point, you're actually working with sugar as well. So it's
absolutely. So you would say up dose before increasing your brew time.
Exactly. I think that that's going to give you a nicer texture without that incredible acid. And updosing, what that does is it's going to pull out more bitters rather than acid. And I'd rather cut bitters with lactose and sugar than cut acid with lactose and sugar. I feel like I get a nicer texture as a result. It's a little bit more interesting to me when I'm doing it that way. So yeah. And I mean, where are we at with the brew there, Sister Speak?
I kind of messed it up because I didn't add enough water.
Oh no. Okay. Okay.
But I brewed it for 3.5 minutes, and then I added a little bit of water, which is probably not a good idea.
Well, it depends. Like you can, when I'm making tea for a group, like if I have a dinner where I've invited a lot of people over, and I don't have, like what I'll do is I'll have like a fairly large decanter, and I'll have maybe a half-size brewer, and I'll double up my leaves, and I'll post-dilute after the fact. It's not as ideal, but you can get away with it up to, I find, about 75% you can get away with. So
wow.
Yeah. And so
what happened with mine is it lost its sweetness.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. So yeah, if you over dilute, if you are going to dilute, you want to be very mathematical. So you want to know
Okay.
exactly what you started with. So say if I underdosed my water, you might want to try again. Make the brew one more time, and
Okay. Are you on the second brew already anyway?
we might as well. Let's do our second infusion here, Amy, and then we can have.
Are we going to do 4 minutes again?
I think we should increase to 5.
5? Okay.
Let's see what happens. So for our viewers, on the package, it's suggesting 3.5 minutes. That is definitely where it was tasting amazing when we got it in, but there's definitely a change that's happened over time. I just measured my leaf absorption, my water absorption into the leaves, I should say, and it looks like we absorbed about 13.7 grams. So
what did you say the target was?
Our 180 was our target, so let's minus 13.7 or 14 grams from that. So 180 minus 14 is, do the math for me here, 176, is that right?
So
No, 166.
66.
Apparently I can't math. Okay.
I can't either. I have somebody else to do that.
Okay. My calculator friend. Okay.
180 minus what?
Oh, for you're doing your first brew there, Cher, so you want to do 180. 180 over 3 grams.
Oh, well, I kind of did a brew already.
Yeah, you're redoing it, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, but I still have the same leaves.
Why don't you start again? Put those ones to the side.
Oh, entirely start again?
Entirely start again.
Oh,
And then you'll get a sense of that first infusion.
okay.
So this is something that we don't do on the cafe level, which now that you say it, it makes more sense to me. But accounting for the absorption in the leaves, how imperative is that to your final extraction on a second or third brew?
Yeah, consecutive infusions are going to taste remarkably better with taking that into account.
Okay.
Because if you don't, what I find is you get a really you just get a really uninteresting flavor dynamic. I shouldn't say uninteresting. It's just not as good as it could be. Like it starts to taste watery, and
Yeah.
excuse me, the further you move forward in consecutive brews, the more you taste that because, for example, in a sencha. Say I use 180 grams of water, there's actually 30 grams of leaf absorption in that first infusion.
Wow.
So if I was brewing in a pot that could only hold 180, and then I tried to put 180 on that second infusion, it's going to overflow.
This answers a lot of questions that we've answered.
So your second infusion for a sencha, which has a more aggressive absorption rate than say this Koucha Asatsuyu, you're gonna want to make room for that 30 grams for sure. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, and I think every tea also is going to interact with consecutive infusions a little bit different. We try to put the information on the cards and on the tins, explaining how we suggest to make that second, third, fourth infusion. But we don't really have any way to explain how to account for absorption. But I think that's a big reason for making, it's going to play a major role in making those second, third, fourth infusions taste amazing, is accounting for that water absorption.
Yeah, one of the things our customer base really enjoy is we've trained a lot of people. They understand how the slow tea bar works, and they come there specifically for it, knowing that they're going to get a cup of tea and it's going to taste a little bit different each time, and that they get to kind of go on that journey.
Right. No, that's awesome, and that's actually really nice to hear. We're trying to encourage people to be careful with brewing their tea, and I think that in the specialty coffee industry, we feel a lot of parallels in terms of how we can think about careful and consistent extractions. And we're really trying to encourage people to do this at home. I think, and you should, look at Sherri Anne here. She's kind of our non-industry guest, and it's awesome because she ends up, I'll be explaining how to brew, but she's kind of
Stumbling and spilling,
but it's awesome, right? Because think about where you are now versus where you were in episode 1, right? In terms of making a consistent tea, you're aware of the principles that we're looking for. So really, don't have, one thing I hope you learned last time is don't have a bigger sorry, don't have a bigger brewer than your decanter. Because
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah, because if you brew,
Oh, yes.
because remember with the yashishang, you like poured it into, because you were making two at the same time, and I didn't prepare you for it, and then you just had water like overflow, and it was pretty
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. So it's good to encourage the people at home to work with these parameters as well. But the response has been good.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, like, you guys make it easy, right? Like, I think that's kind of where we are jumping off point by having the information actually on the packages, not only for our staff who here's a brand new tea they're pulling out of the cupboard, but for somebody at home who wants to make it just as we had. Like, you've written the rule book for them already.
Well, we're trying. Yeah. I mean, those are just parameters that we've really worked hard to create, but. You know, there's going to be different water in different spaces that may require you to make adjustments, but ideally this will give you like a really firm starting point. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to brew them the way that we suggest, and then see if you enjoy those flavor dynamics, right? So my second steep is ready. There we go.
I'm gonna grab a different cup to decant into. 1 sec.
Sure. Sounds good.
Just throw this in this little pot. So this morning, I made like a,
There's something in there.
Uh-oh. Sorry, what was that, Sher?
I made like a layman style this morning, and I have been following the directions now, and it's so nice because every time I follow the directions, tea is so much sweeter.
Cool. Yeah. Well, because I think that the most common. Oh, it smells like honey.
Yeah.
The most.
The color, yeah.
Yeah, isn't it good? I think the most common, not. I don't know if errors is the right word, but I think the most common reasons why a tea is not as enjoyable as it could be is underdosing. Kind of this belief for tea drinkers at home, and which I had before I started understanding or like exploring this concept of extraction, was that you could just leave the leaves and it would just, if you, for example, if you had a group over, you could use the same amount of leaves as you normally do, but just leave them in there longer, and it would somehow fill up this flavor vacuum, and you'd be serving, these 1 liter pots of tea, and you just leave the tea in longer, and it would, but that just gives you this really watery, over extracted tea, and it's really over extracted, but you can't really taste it because it's so watered down.
Right.
And then the other thing that happens is really acidic tea, like battery acid. Like you leave it in there like so long, it's almost like
This is good.
it's like hard on the stomach, and and that's the kind of tea that's often cut with milk and sugar, and it's
Bottled as iced tea.
Yeah, right. And it has its place as sort of an ingredient, as like it's kind of like working with bitters or working with different flavor components to build a complete flavor structure. But I find that when it's like super over extracted, even when I like cut it with stuff, that's the kind of tea that really affects me in a negative way. And I don't even think, sometimes people think they're over caffeinated, but when you have too much tannin in your system, it does affect your body in a way that kind of wings you out, like makes you kind of feel really agitated.
Like
I find
it's like shaky in a way as well.
Yeah.
I recently had some wine that did a similar thing to me, and I identified it as the tannins. And it's funny when you say that, because I think people are very quick to think that it's always like the caffeine that's affecting it, but there's so much more going on in that extraction process that can affect you depending on what you had to eat that day, depending on how much water you've had. And definitely an important thing to pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say, like people just leave the leaves in there longer, hoping for like a result that's going to taste good. But is there not a point with tea where it's no longer extracting? Like there's a point at which everything has been extracted out of this leaf and you're not getting anything.
Yeah, like a saturation point, right? And I feel like when that happens, like if I'm doing multiple infusions, I know that I'm kind of on my last infusion, at least for that temperature, when I start to taste kind of a soft honey flavor, like a really soft honey flavor. Right? And like for me, this tea is done. Like the second infusion, it's good, but it's like a muted version of the first. And it's because the leaves are a little bit more broken up. There's more surface area. there's more opportunity for a full-bodied extraction in the first steep. I could do a third steep of this, but it's nothing that I would be like super enthusiastic about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, these are two totally different teas to me right now, in the best way. I don't think I would want to drink two back to back of this specifically.
Sure.
Delicious, great, but I like finishing it off with that little bit of a lighter body. It's a little bit lighter on the kind of maltiness.
More
and
hydrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sherri Anne, you often bring up questions about like the healthful impact, right? And you know, I often find a reticence amongst health enthusiasts for crimson teas in general, because there's this sort of, it almost has a bad rap, you know. It's like, oh, if I drink too much black tea, it's going to really mess with me, right? Which can be true, but I think a lot of it has to do with drinking really broken up leaves for really over extraction, too much tannin, all that stuff. And I mean, caffeine is water soluble, so there is going to be a certain, you know, but apparently I don't know how true this is, and don't hold me to this, but I think this is kind of like the water method. If you soak the leaves for a certain amount of time and then you take them out, they're going to obviously taste a lot paler, but you get a lot of that initial caffeination in the first 30 seconds. So I don't know if if a short infusion is really going to take away from, say, a caffeinated experience, even though you know, it's water soluble, and the idea would be, okay, if it's water soluble, the longer I leave the leaves in, the more caffeine I'm going to get. But I really think that the troubles that we have with crimson teas or black teas is more to do with over extraction than it is to do with and through all those tannins. And you know, another thing is people get addicted, and I think that also my understanding is that it's way easier to get addicted to sugar than it is to the level of caffeine that's in a crimson tea, which is like 1/20th of a cup of coffee. So
yes.
Sorry.
That's a helpful stat. 1/20th of a cup of coffee. I love data and I love stats. Yeah. And so a lot of people actually, one of the things that they ask me is, all right, so you're serving me 3 cups of tea because I am on your slow bar here.
Yeah.
Am I getting like the same amount of caffeine every single time, or am I? And it's like you answered the question there with, in the first 30 seconds, really that's when you're taking out the majority of that caffeine.
That's my understanding. And I mean, research, food science is such an evolving, growing thing that this is what I've read and what I've researched. But I really encourage you guys and our viewers to do your own research. PubMed is fantastic. Look up Camellia sinensis tea and check out different articles and see what makes sense for you. And everybody's body's going to interact a little bit different, right? So if you find that you're extra sensitive to a particular tea, then experiment with lower doses. But you don't necessarily need to make it weaker. You could do a lower dose with less water, and then you would still be getting the flavor, but you would just be drinking, say, I was showing some teapots last session, just the little tiny teapots. It's very common to have these multiple infusions in little tiny teapots that are 2 or 3 ounces in size. And then you can go like to that 7-8 steeps, and you're not going to be like, you know, strung out or anything, right? So
we've actually started doing that more with coffee as well, where we're making smaller cups so that we can enjoy more of it, but just in like lesser quantities. So we're doing like a 150 rather than a 300 ml extraction, and it's
then you can actually have a flight, right? You can taste multiple coffees. I when we were in visiting Italy, I was struck by just how much espresso I could drink. I mean, the average, right? And the average espresso shot in Italy, you're often getting singles, and those singles are dosed at 7 grams. If you're drinking an espresso in North America, the norm is a double, and between 18 and 21 grams. So if you think about it, for an espresso here and an espresso there, it's like you can drink 3 espressos there for 1 espresso here.
Yeah.
You know? Just if you do
that
the math.
solves it.
Yeah.
I am extremely sensitive to caffeine, so I can only have a little bit of even black and green tea.
Yeah.
And I don't get the jitters, but I actually can't really drink coffee at all. In North America, I get the jitters like every time I have it even like half a cup when I go out. But I also haven't been to Amy to your coffee shop.
Who knows?
Oh,
Yeah, it might.
we dose them pretty high here.
It might be.
And I will say that when I was in Italy and when I was in Germany, I did not get the jitters. I don't normally drink coffee, but I was really tired and I was touring, and I had a little espresso and it was this big, and I felt like I did feel like a nutritional benefit for the first time. And I haven't gone to a lot of specialty coffee shops in Canada or the US because I've gotten the jitters so many times it threw me off from going to coffee shops like for coffee. I always just get tea. So I'd love to have the smaller dose espresso sometime and be able to actually handle that and like not get all like jittery. My mind starts just firing so fast. It's like it's not a comfortable feeling, you know.
Well, specialty coffee shops in North America don't necessarily dose less like Italy. They just they extract carefully, so they're not. You're less likely to get a overly sour or an overly bitter shot with your drink, which is going to have a different impact on your system. So I think that, though, for me, it's definitely about I find myself sensitive to espresso. I can handle one double shot a day, so I like to split it, and I have what's called like a handshake or a sidecar or whatever you want to call it. But it's I have a small milk drink like a macchiato, and then I have a single shot espresso, and it's the way that I like to drink it. And then the best is if I can share that with another person, and then I can have, or three people, then I can have 3 shops that I go to. But then you're just drinking this little tiny espresso between 3 people. Not the ideal circumstance right now, obviously, but
one day soon we'll be able to share coffee and tea again.
Yeah, right. So I'm looking forward to that day. I really am. Just before we move on to brewing the Arnie Palmer, or making that drink, Sherri Anne, you want to tell us what you're tasting in that extraction there? Like, are you?
Well, the first one was really like nice and like smooth. I'd say like very smooth and like I guess the first word that comes to mind is there's like a nourishing feeling when I'm drinking it.
Okay.
And it's kind of a smooth texture and it has a little bit of a sweetness to it. And then the second one, it smells like honey, like you said. It has like a nice aroma of sweetness. And interestingly enough, it is still sweet. Actually, it's delicious. It just seems like maybe not as rich as like and smooth.
It reminds me of imagine if you put Honey Nut Cheerios into some water and drank the water.
Yeah.
it has like the wheat and honey flavor and like kind of this.
Yeah. I get that on the nose a lot. This one's definitely a lot more aromatic. I don't know if that's just because I'm drinking it a little bit slower now and it started to cool a little bit. But as it cools, I feel like it's getting a little bit sweeter. I definitely like the light texture that it has. But I'm definitely getting honey 100%.
Right. Yeah. And I think in both infusions, this one's like to me a lighter honey, whereas the first one is more like buckwheat or malt or like a really sort of like very much a cooked honey flavor or like a stewed fruit thing happening. And there was like a very, very syrupy like texture to the first infusion. Yeah. So I'm really,
it's really fun.
Honestly, I drank this. I suggested doing this tea because I wanted to work with it and I wanted to explore it, but I was at a place personally where I was feeling like I'm not sure if this is the tea I should be doing today because last week it really tasted like it had fallen off a flavor cliff. And when I brought up that question about teas just kind of dropping off the map and coffees dropping off the map just suddenly in the session last week, this was actually the tea that came to mind. But drinking it today, I'm like, this is really good. It's
one of my favorites.
I'm really, really enjoying it. It's got a nice texture, rich flavor, and I really think it had a lot to do with my water. So I guess these go hand in hand, right?
So many variables, I think, with brewing anything, and you kind of have to work yourself backwards and talk yourself out of not liking something. I find that I'm very quick to be like, that's not the thing. But then if I start to break it down, I can figure out what went wrong or how I can make it better.
Exactly. Yeah, and it really helps. Okay, so let's talk about this Arnold Palmer. So you want to maybe tell us a little bit about it, and I'm gonna go and grab we need
Absolutely.
lemons and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. Just one sec. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be right back as well.
I have a large collection of these teacups on hand, and they're all kind of mismatched, and it's probably my preferred thing for me to drink out of when I'm having tea at home.
Oh, that's fun. I found these at a garage sale. They're like have little designs in them.
I like those. That one looks like a much smaller volume than what I have here. I'd like some that are just a little bit slighter.
Yeah, I kind of have I love those blue and white. My mom actually has a really cool tea collection as well. I should bring that out next time. And then these ones are just like plain brown, like small ones, but the tea tastes really good out of them.
Are they ceramic?
Yeah, but they're like this one's a little bit more like coated or something, and this one's less coated.
Like glazed and unglazed. Right now in our shop, actually, we're having somebody make us ceramic mugs. So we're replacing all of our existing mugs with handmade ones that are dipped like that. And she's making specific tea ones at a really nice size, at a 180 size, so that I can serve the slow bar and people can have small cups without having like such a big volume or losing temperature because it's in such a big cup.
Oh.
Yeah, it makes a difference, hey?
Absolutely. Did you see her cups, Jay? They look really cool.
Can I see, Amy?
I have a collection of mismatched teacups, and it's what I prefer to drink out of at home.
Hey, it works. Yeah, I love creative pottery, antique teacups. Like I think it's such a. This is actually a cup from a visit to France. You see I love the
like turquoise.
Yeah, there's like a really beautiful turquoise bottom to it, and they're really thin and light. And then we use these little glass teapots.
Yes.
And those
I wish we had more care in our shop to be able to have them.
And could make those happen.
They always get broken in the dishwasher, and so I've tried and tried. So we're at the mason jars.
Yeah, mason jars work. Have you? So
that's what I have.
You have worked with these? Like Hardio makes them too, hey?
Yeah, we got set up from you in the beginning with about 4 of them, and all 4 of them broke within the first 6 months. Mostly just on our part with not handling them as careful as we should.
What really works, I find, is sometimes just something less delicate but still delicate, like this. Can you see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have these broken on you too? I think we set you up with decanters.
Decanters, I haven't. I only have 1 of them, so I saved them for super special people.
Well, you know
if you come to visit.
Well, they're nice. You see how they're bulbous?
Yeah.
Right? And that bulbous shape helps to make helps to encourage the leaves to spin. What I often do is say sencha. I never would brew a sencha in here because it just doesn't drop out of here very easily. And so I'll either make it in like a traditional Japanese kyusu like this, which has like the netting on the inside that kind of holds the leaves back from the nose so that it doesn't clog up. Or I use the mason jar brewer, or I use just one of these guys and I dump it into another one of these guys. So I'll brew in this and I'll decant into this.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
It totally works. Okay, so for our viewers, what we've done is we've all created this cold brew extraction, and to achieve it, we grabbed a 40-gram Koucha Asatsuyu, and we emptied it into a 1-liter jar. If you want to save some tea for brewing with and not use it all for the extraction, you can also just pour 20 grams into a 500 milliliter mason jar, and that should do the trick. And then you give it 24 hours is the ideal scenario here for making this concentrate. And it helps to brew in a jar, and then you can just pour through a sieve. I like these lids. You can go on our webpage there. We have mason jar brewers for sale.
Oh yeah.
You can get them, but you can just do a jar and go pour through a sieve. And then what you've done here is you've created a concentrate, and you can actually cut this with hot water for instant hot tea. You can cut it with cold water for some really beautiful cold brew iced tea. And you can cut to taste. We generally do 75% water, 25% concentrate. And then, Amy, you've taken this concentrate and you've created your own drink at White Rabbit based off of a very famous mocktail or cocktail. Or
Yeah.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, I have to say your teas make a really great platform for being able to create special and signature drinks. That's one of the things we do a lot of, is kind of create different concoctions, and it's fun, but it helps to have a product that you're starting with that's already fantastic and delicious. And without that, now we're not masking it. We're just trying to enhance. We're trying to find a way to make it into something super special that people want to drink on a hot day.
Okay. For sure.
So super simple for us is like a cafe style. Having this on hand means that we can make iced tea for people so quickly. And so this method really works well for us. And then we usually have lemon concentrate on hand because we often make lemonade for the kiddos.
Okay.
And
you sent me a recipe for the lemon concentrate.
I did.
But I didn't make it because I thought it'd be kind of cool to make it with everybody watching. So
I agree.
So maybe you can take me through it and take. Sherri Anne, do you have some lemons as well and some sugar?
Yep, I do. I have coconut sugar and lemons.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna run and grab the sugar.
Okay.
I'm
gonna make sure I have my recipe and have the right information. We make a big giant version of this at the shop, so I scaled it down for this purpose just because we don't need that much lemon concentrate on hand.
For sure.
Here we go.
So what am I doing for how much? Should I start with the lemons then? Squeeze them in?
I usually start with the lemons, yeah. So you're looking for about 1.5 lemons is going to give you about 100 milliliters of lemon juice.
Okay.
Alternatively, if you don't have lemons and you just have the bottled lemon concentrate, there's a guide on the back that shows you how much liquid to use per whole lemon in a recipe. I would not use 100 milliliters of lemon concentrate in a bottle. It'll be far too acidic.
Okay. So I'm just weighing this out. I guess my lemons are tiny. I'm glad I bought a bunch of them.
Mine was pretty huge. Mine was like the size of 2.
Okay, because I'm just weighing mine out. And
so what weight do we want?
We want
100 milliliters.
So 100 grams, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 1 whole lemon for me is 22.6.
Oh yeah, you do got small guys.
Yeah. These are tiny. I bet you, my wife is watching this right now, and she's worried that I'm going to cut myself, but I'm going to be okay.
I just cut this into. I used this, yeah.
And by the way,
and I cut it into this.
What is that? Here, hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna.
Oh, it's not a big deal. I just.
Hold on.
Wow, it's supposed to be 100 milliliters.
Yeah, we can make it smaller. I have lots of tools that we use in the shop. I'm a big fan of tools. So we have a juicer, like a reamer. We also have like the press version of it. We do a lot of things with citrus, so it's good to have it on hand.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Okay, look at this. So I'm at 3 lemons and I'm at 42 grams.
Oh, we're getting there.
So I only brought 3 because I heard that it was a.
If you get to 50, we can put this in half. I can make the adjustment.
Let's make this a 50-gram goal. What are you at, Sister Speak? What do we got?
I have 1 lemon. I'm at 39.5. Yo.
Awesome, yo. Okay. All right.
So yeah, Sherri Anne, just bring it to 50, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
I can do this.
This is like the most fun tea. I like the honey aroma, iced tea. There's something really fun about There's something really fun about this tea.
Yeah, it's good times. Look at that. Look at that. That jar or that decanter of lemons there, eh? Did you see it? It's pretty awesome.
46. Come on.
Okay.
47. 48. Oh.
All right, so once you have your lemon juice, so the next thing you want to do is you just want to dissolve your sugar in your water. Now, you could do that on the stove, but we actually just take boiling water that we have on the kettle at the shop and we just stir to combine. So we're going to do 37.5 grams of sugar.
Should I before the water, you're saying?
I always put the sugar in first and then I pour the water on top, but just
Yeah, cool.
the method I use.
So 37.5 grams?
Yep.
Which is half of the recipe you sent me, right? Because we're working with halves. Okay.
How big of a vessel? I'm putting it in. I'm putting it in how big of a vessel right now?
You're gonna need to add 25 more grams of water, so you need a little bit of headspace there. Probably
okay,
a
I think
bigger vessel.
it's a little small. Okay.
And I always do the kind of do it in a bigger jar so you can get a nice stir on to make sure that you get all of the sugar dissolved.
Okay.
And when we're doing this at the shop, we do this recipe that I sent you is a third of what we do when we make it to have on hand.
I like the verbiage. Get your stir on. That's good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. All right. Which is what I'm about to do. You got the,
All right.
You see this? This is what's going on. I'm getting my stir on.
So you have lemon juice in there and you have sugar. The next step, you're going to want to add 25 grams of boiling water.
Boiling water. Okay. So
37.5 of sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
60, 70, 80, 7.
What was it?
25.
Okay. I didn't tear my scale. So 37.5 plus 25. I can do this. Okay.
I believe in you.
38 plus 25 is 58, 63 minus 0.5, 62.5. Okay, I got this.
You got it.
Okay. That was live. That math was live. Okay. Okay. All right.
And then Sherri Anne, yours might be a little bit less sweet just because coconut sugar tends to be a little bit lower on the glycemic index. So it'll taste really nice and malty, which will, I think, pair really, really nicely with the black tea.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And then I'm going to grab
25 milliliters of water.
Yes, correct. You're right.
Okay. 97.
Okay. I'm a big proponent of these guys.
You got me on board with those. I actually have lots of those at the shop.
Yeah, you can get them from what are they called? They're called mason jar pour caps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any mason jar accessory, I'm on board with.
Yeah, totally. So, all right. And so what I often do for people watching is just so I know when I've made my concentrate, I put a little bit of, I grab some tape. And I hate it when you put tape onto glass and it's so hard to get off. So I put a little curl, like I tape over itself just a little bit on the end so it's easy to remove. And then I'll put it on the side of the jar. And then I'll use like a permanent marker. And I will just put what I put in here. So lemon, syrup, and I am going to say the date, which is the 7th.
7, yeah.
And then this will help me track what I'm working with.
And that lemon concentrate in the fridge is really good up to about 2 weeks. Then it starts to kind of lose its life. It starts to get kind of flat and not very nice. But the sugar and the acid kind of help keep it stable for up to 2 weeks.
Which makes sense. I mean, even if you were like talking to food safe folks, as long as your pH is below 4.5, you're pretty solid. Excuse me, even, not in the fridge, but if it's above 4.5, things get a little bit problematic. And the fact that we're using boiling water also helps to pasteurize, etc. But I think that where you will get mold is through exposure to the elements, sticking your fingers inside there and stuff, probably a bad idea. But the same idea with the Koucha concentrate is that's a good 2 weeks, generally speaking. Officially, I'm supposed to tell you 3 days in the fridge and that's officially what I'm going to say. So, because it doesn't hit that pH range. But on a residential level, you can do what you need to do. But don't sue me.
I love that caveat.
There you go.
So throughout last summer, we were making cold concentrates quite often. Spring, we ran a really fun green tea drink where we did a rosemary syrup that we
Nice.
made with the yunwu, and
Beautiful.
really paired well. But we found that we couldn't keep it in the fridge long enough. Like we were going through it before it would get anywhere near the bad.
Lovely. No, that's good to know. Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys did something really interesting with an oolong that we had sent your way too, right? So yeah.
Yep, I've iced it, and we've actually just finished making a sakura cordial, and so
Cool.
we are pairing it with a sakura cordial, and it's quite lovely.
Nice. We made a sakura matcha latte in house. So we took some salted cherry leaf, and we dried it in our dehydrator, and then we milled it into a powder. And then we also sliced some beets, and we dehydrated them and powdered them, and blended them with some sugar. And we made a beet syrup that we folded into some steamed milk and poured over a shot of matcha, and then peppered the cherry leaf powder on top. And it was awesome. This like beautiful pink matcha latte with like this
flavor bomb.
So awesome, yeah.
I feel like those things pair quite well, and if anybody is listening, I will break a little bit of a secret in that we've used your matcha in a beautiful lilac sakura cake that we were making this weekend.
Nice. Okay.
And we made a matcha jelly, and it's a matcha based cake, and we're actually going to be auctioning this cake off on Instagram for Food Share. We're going to be raising money for Food Share.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, send me some pics. I'll totally share on our social media too.
Will do.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'll check. I'll look for that too.
Awesome. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. We'll do the triple attack.
You guys want to brew some cold tea?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So I have this in ounces because I have really awesome shot glasses at the shop that help me measure this. I did not bring those home with me, so I'm going to do a combo here of this tiny guy, and I'm going to use my scale that oddly measures in ounces as well.
Oh, amazing. Okay. I'm gonna convert for our purposes for viewers at home using a scale by the gram.
Perfect.
It's not technically the same, but we generally can say 30 grams equals 1 ounce. It's a little bit less than 30 grams, but it's going to be okay. So, all right. So what is our...
So our target is 3 ounces of the concentrate. And I actually like to mix this in another vessel before I pour it into my final one. This just allows all of the liquids to combine a lot better.
Okay, so it's kind of use a decanter in between sort of idea. Okay, I can do
exactly.
That. So you want to do 3 ounces of which concentrate?
Of the black tea.
Okay. So that's
of the crimson.
90 grams.
Oh, and I overshot it.
Okay.
Perfect.
And
okay.
Just a note for our viewers, when you are making the cold brew concentrate, it's a good idea to weigh the finished extraction. So you're starting with 850 grams in the 1 liter, 425 grams in the 500 milliliter jar. And when you're done, you should account, there should be about 100 milliliters of absorption into the leaves. If there's less, then you probably have a weak concentrate that you're going to have to use a little bit more of. If there's more, I'm actually speaking backwards. If you have more concentrate than you thought you should have, then it's weak, right? And if you have less concentrate than you thought you should have, it's actually strong. So sort of make room for that. Yeah, hopefully I'm not confusing.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely makes sense. So I have the concentrate here, and then I have the tea here. What's my next step?
So the next step is to add the lemon concentrate to the black tea concentrate, which we're looking for equal parts. So we're going to do another 90 of this lemon concentrate.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 90 grams of tea. I see.
And I hear Jared's doing the sparkling version.
So
90 grams of water and then 90 grams of concentrate?
90 grams of lemon concentrate, 90 grams of
tea, you mean.
Tea concentrate. And then we're going to do 30. You want to do the math here, Jared? 6 ounces of water would be...
Ooh, more than it's going to fit into my little guy here. But that's 6 ounces does 180. So basically you're doing 25% of the lemon concentrate, 25% cold brew concentrate, and 25% water or sparkling water.
Correct.
Sorry, 50% of the sparkling water. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay, so 180 grams, viewers. You are going to be doing 180 grams. Okay, which isn't going to fit in here, so I'm going to switch to a different device. Where we got? Okay. You know what? I don't know why I didn't just start with a mason jar. Would have just made my life easier. Okay. And then I'm going to pour in 180 grams of sparkling water and or cold water. You could probably do, does this curdle milk? Have you ever tried it over milk? Does the lemon and the sugar?
The lemon, I have. It does curdle.
Okay.
And my cordials curdle milk as well. So I tend to actually use my cordials with matcha and sparkling water.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we do with yuzu. We've always not done it with milk because I was always afraid it would curdle it because it's a citrus. But I guess it depends.
I wonder if it's a pH situation as well.
Probably.
Oh. I have to get some more water. I'll be right back.
We'll need to have somebody more sciencey than I to know what it is that causes the milk to curdle and not to curdle.
Now, I will say that when at the end of us doing this this drink,
I'm jumping.
Sorry. At the end of us doing this drink last summer, we found that we were starting to actually extract over a longer period of time. I think mostly because our jars were smaller, and so the absorption was slower because there wasn't a lot of room in there. Right. And so we combated that by just doing an extra 12 hours on top of that.
Okay.
What that did was give you a bolder flavor of the tea and more of the profile from the actual crimson, and then making sure that our lemons are nice and ripe and they're not, going bad and have that kind of stale lemon taste.
Makes sense. So instead of 24 hours, we're just saying 36?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm basically at 24 with this one. I started it yesterday afternoon. So really what you're saying is, for our kombucha, we actually find that through testing, we don't get much extra flavor past 72 hours. But it might it might be interesting to try this drink at a 72-hour extraction, hey, to see if we can't just get as much out of it as possible and kind of take it from there. That'd be kind of
absolutely.
And the cold,
I definitely go ahead.
You go ahead.
I learned throughout that process, we learned that we needed bigger vessels and that the tea really needs that room to circulate and expand. And without that, we're losing a lot of that flavor profile.
Which makes sense. We need more surface area exposed to water to actually extract flavor. And cold water also, what happens is that you're spending a lot more time at a contact temperature that's going to really curate more fruity floral flavors and less, like almost zero acidity, to the point that it's a problem. So cutting it with some sparkling water, cutting it with the lemons, like this helps to bring out acidity to help balance that flavor structure, and then you get the sweetness and sort of that floral quality from the tea, and then you get to have some nice flavor balance with the lemons and the sugar probably. Hey, I'm excited to try this. You garnish this. I don't have the garnish prepared.
I don't have the garnish prepared either, I must say. We were garnishing with a slice of orange because like I mentioned on our first drink through of the Koucha, we like orange rind. That's what I get on the nose from my first pass of the crimson, and I really wanted to highlight that and accentuate that. Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think you sent me a picture of it, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Let's see if I can't get that on screen. But while we're drinking this, or are we on to the drinking? Are we able to?
I think so. I think once you've combined the two, put it into your cup. I don't even really shake it because I find that the transfer just does enough of the mixing. It doesn't really need agitating.
Right. I just overshook it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you can overshake this. Will it be damaged in any way, flavor?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You might have a few bubbles on the top, but I don't think it does anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, look at the color you have on your Sherri Anne. It's much different than the color
coconut,
that we have.
Yeah, the coconut sugar.
Wow, I'm curious to know what that tastes like.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually sounds really good. Or looks really good. Okay.
It's hearty.
Yeah. Like, is it more malt? Does the maltiness come through because of the coconut sugar?
Definitely.
That's awesome.
I like it. I mean, I think it might be an acquired taste thing for some people. Although it tastes like it almost tastes like one of those cakes. It tastes like a cake.
Okay.
I find that it's a good introduction for people if they want iced tea and what they're expecting is, the stuff you get powdered and you stir into water and it somehow makes iced tea. I find that this mimics that, but with the quality of the tea and the background flavor of the tea being so present that it kind of elevates that experience for me. I have such fond memories of having that powdered iced tea as a kid, and so
it's like the powdered iced tea. This actually tastes like that without the funny chemical aftertaste.
Exactly.
Nice. I think
this is really good with the coconut sugar. I mean, I've never had iced tea with coconut sugar.
I wanna give it a try. I'm actually I want to show everybody this photo that you sent me. I'm kind of like figuring it out on the fly, and I think I almost got this. So it's gonna be. Hopefully, I haven't totally messed up here.
Even with the sparkling water, like I find that just that extra aeration in it kind of breaks up the sugars a little bit. It breaks up the acidity from the lemon and really kind of drives that flavor home. We tend to use sparkling water with a lot of things in the shop. Just it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm not going to be able to get this picture up online. I'll have to.
We'll share it for folks to see. Yeah, we'll reshare again. It's the beauty of that is in that photo when we share it, it shows what the tea looks like prior to us actually extracting it. So you got that deep dark, tea, and then you next to the brightness of this drink, which is very, very bright.
This is amazing really how huge the tea leaves became in extraction overnight. It filled up like the whole jar.
That's my my.
Nice color.
Liquid there.
Yeah.
Looks pretty cool.
Liquid sunshine.
Liquid sunshine. One of our first herbal blends, when we used to give our herbal blends titles, that's what we called it. It was
liquid sunshine.
Yeah.
Mine's like a liquid ambiance.
I like that.
Well, that's really nice.
It's drinkable. It's very approachable. And we find that it's really kind of got people hooked on to knowing that there's flavors in tea beyond bitterness.
It's amazing.
That's really good. I was a little like, wow, that's a lot of lemon concentrate. But
in the traditional iced tea, definitely would be a little bit less lemon, a little bit less sugar. But in an Arnie Palmer, you're looking for that zing, that pow. It's he was, if I remember correctly, he was a baseball player or was he a golfer? And this was his drink of choice, which was cut with bourbon, obviously, but we like to do the mocktail version of it.
That's amazing. That's really good.
I'm so glad you like it. That's awesome.
Huh. Oh, that's
really good.
Yeah, I like it with the sparkly.
Yes.
I'm curious what yours tastes like.
I'm going to try it with coconut water and sparkly. That'll be my next.
I wonder if the coconut sugar cuts the tartness the same way that the other sugars do. Does it taste like I'm not tasting like a tartness at all. It's like a perfect combination.
That's good. I haven't played with coconut sugar all that much, but it's something that's on my radar for next year because I feel like not only just for trying to reduce the amount of sugar that we add into things, but to see it as its own specific element and what it can add and provide to what we're trying to make, separate from it just being a sugar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I bet you could have some interesting variations of this drink just by experimenting with different sugars for sure, but even different types of lemons, they're probably going to bring out completely different flavors.
Yeah.
And of course the tea will play a role. Like, it's nice I can taste the tea. I was actually really concerned about that. The Koucha Asatsuyu, I found, has not always been the ideal candidate for cold extraction.
Well, when we did this one last year, we were working with Tok Lai, and I find that the flavor profile is close. Definitely the Koucha is more malty than the Toklai was. But with the addition of the 12 hours, you get even more of that tea flavor. And that was something that I hold true on all of my drinks is I want you to taste the tea. I want you to taste the quality of the tea, and just have the other flavors as a complement.
Then I think I'm going to adjust my recipe for cold brew concentrates and just encourage people to brew a little longer. I mean, if we're finding benefits in our kombucha program and you're finding benefits in your drink program at White Rabbit, it might just be a good opportunity to just switch things up a bit and encourage people to go down that road.
I will say the one exception I have personally with that rule is with the Wulong. Actually, I did a double test. I did one where I brewed for 36, one that I did for 24, and I like the 24 a lot better.
Interesting. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fascinating because it's actually we mostly use oolongs for our kombucha.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
I'm also not cutting mine. At the time, I wasn't cutting it with sugars or anything. There was no honey put into it, so I wonder if the addition of that would kind of
play a role,
kind of balance it a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'll have to do some more experiments, and I would love to hear your feedback on the experiments you do. But one thing I do really encourage is to track both the weight of the tea and the weight of the water for the initial extraction, but also the finished extraction. And know that if you're starting with 850, then we're encouraging a 750 extraction, and that if you're under 750, that it helps to post dilute. And one thing I do notice is that the oolongs soak up more and more, and then there's like a slow release almost. It seems like I get more out of them if I let them, like they kind of go like, I don't know what's happening in there, but
like a bell curve. No, I hear that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I didn't measure my total weight out of those extractions. So I wonder if one extracted more and one less, because remember, I'm working with some oolong that I've had in my possession for a while now. And so it's on its way to being just a little bit too old for serving.
Right.
And so I wonder if that also plays a role in it.
Yeah, it's very possible. Because we want to, our goal is 15, maybe 18 months max from harvest date. So just look at the harvest date. You might be working with an oolong that's like a fall harvest from 2018, I believe we were talking about, and you might still be okay, just barely. And but yeah, once it goes past that, then you start to get out that kind of old hay flavor. That's not as ideal, but
old hay.
I know it sounds terrible. Cool, but no, it's really always interesting to check out what you guys are doing at White Rabbit with your specialty drinks, your coffee program, your food program, and I really, I looked at the time just now. We're at 2:40, so we've gone a little bit over time. We've been having way too much fun. So
it's so good. This has been a blast.
Yeah, it's been a really good time. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining. If you had any suggestions for the viewers on how they can best, like if there's any tips for this drink that perhaps you haven't had a chance to say.
Mostly that it's a very easy drink to put together for a large group of people. So if you're having, when all these restrictions are lifted and we can have people in our backyard and having barbecues again, that consider making a drink that is using local tea, but it's also like very, very refreshing. This is really the one to do. And we're going to share some more information on the recipe on our page as well, just to encourage people. They can get this tea on our website and on your website.
Lovely. And you, your Instagram handle is
whiterabbit.coffeeco.
whiterabbit.coffeeco. Okay. And then your webpage is as whiterabbitcoffeeco.com, correct?
You got it. Yep, that's
awesome.
Right.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us.
Really
appreciate having you on the show. And hope you, we'll just all talk about this and about your cake that you're auctioning off. That's fantastic. And wish you the best of luck with the COVID-19 challenges and all that they've been presenting and getting through this and coming out on the other side that much stronger for it. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Thank you to you and your team for still providing tea and still being there for the shops that you service, because it's without you we wouldn't have product to be able to sell and to offer to people. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate you guys as well. Thank you so much. And Sherri Anne, Sister Speak, huge appreciation for joining us each session. You're always a riot to have on, and I like to tell the story of going to Germany and seeing our logo on the live show publication for Sister Speak when we were in Cologne. Yeah, it was so cool. And then to see those pictures, all over the world she travels generally, Amy, sometimes as many as 200 shows a year. And
wow.
We see the little Jaga Silk logo in the most interesting of places. So
on the posters.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's good times. It's good times. So thank you both for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Sister Speak, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
This just brought a lot of joy to my day. Thank you so much. I feel like we've been hanging out, and I feel like I actually have some new skills now too.
Lovely.
That's awesome.
Cool. And
maybe even generationally, I could pass on to if I ever have kids one day.
Nice. You can share the Arnold Palmer, and it was from this day. Yeah, awesome. And the archive video. You could show them the archive video.
And Crimson. I mean, I'm learning so much. This is so cool every week. I love it.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you to you both. Huge appreciation. And we'll. I encourage our viewers to go check out White Rabbit in Nanaimo, and to check out their webpage and to go to Sister Speak and check out stuff there on sisterspeakmusic.com or follow her on patreon.com/sisterspeak. Thank you guys both. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy.
Okay, bye.
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 Okay, so just big appreciation to everybody who is watching today. If you want to check out the session after the fact, if you're watching this later after it's been archived, this was a long show. Normally sessions don't go this long, but hey, we had a lot of fun. We learned how to make the Arnold Palmer with Amy Ferris, a White Rabbit. We worked with the Koucha Asatsuyu, which I didn't have as much time to talk about, but it's from the Takaki farm in Fukuoka, Japan. A tea that we actually rolled as a team with the farmers using their rolling machine and putting it through the steps of firing it, being a part of the firing process at the end. It was quite a fascinating experience. Really beautiful tea that I was starting to lose a little bit of faith in recently, and this session has really reawakened and rekindled my interest in this particular selection. So I encourage you to grab it off of our webpage, www.jagasilk.com. You can go and click on the store, and you can check out the Crimson Tea Koucha Asatsuyu. If you want to join us next week, we have a couple things going on. On May 11th, we'll be doing a public cupping with our sencha 96 degrees centigrade. It was a sencha that we were actually a part of the firing process with the farmer. So if you want to grab that and you want to get yourself a Zoom code, then you can join us for a public cupping at 1 p.m. on Monday, May 11th. Another thing you can do is check us out next Thursday, 1 p.m. We'll be doing the show again, episode 7. We'll be doing the Enshiu Lu by Mr. Yang. We'll be doing that with Canoe Coffee over at Canoe Coffee in Kelowna with Dave Upshaw. Should be tons of fun. Sister Speak should be joining us for that show as well. Hopefully I'll have less technical glitches for starting, and I'll be able to start on time. But I hope that the sound, the video, everything is working out. This is an interesting process to learn how to film and produce and kind of make this live stream happen. Couldn't be done without the help of a wonderful friend, Serge Jaeger, which he's going to be joining us the week after Dave. We'll be drinking some Darjeelings with him. So huge appreciation to him. Serge Jaeger, Sergeyager, is a career live streamer. You should go check out his work. You can go to patreon.com/Serge Jaeger to check that out. Thank you for checking out the Jaga Silk JagaVision. Been around now since 2005. Plan to be here for the next long time, and we'll share our stories, farm stories, tea stories, and wish you a safe week, and look forward to seeing you again next Thursday. Take care.